This is the Avonelle Hawke Oral History, Part 8. We are now in San Antonio, Texas in 1947, having just married Babe. And he's going through pilot school. And now you're an Air Force wife.
Yep.
Right? And to just give an idea of what this is like, how your life has changed, in the early part of 1947, you were a college graduate from Tucson, Arizona, who had driven to Washington, D.C. a couple of times.
Long Beach.
Had been to El Paso when you were a kid.
California.
Had been to California. That was about it in terms of travel. And now you're married to an Air Force officer. It's 1947. And between 1947 and 1954, when you go to Morocco, okay, 7 years later, you will have given birth to 4 children and been to many, many places. So between 1947 and 55, when you went to Morocco, where were the places you accompanied Dad to?
Okay. San Antonio to Shreveport, to Tucson, to Biloxi, Mississippi, to Albuquerque, back to Tucson, to Albuquerque, New Mexico, to Montgomery, Alabama, back to Tucson, back to Montgomery, Alabama, back to Tucson. Let me turn the page. And then back to Montgomery, Alabama, and then from Montgomery, Alabama, back to Tucson, and then to Morocco.
Okay. And in that time, gave birth to 4 children.
In that time, we had 4 children.
All in Tucson, interesting.
All in Tucson, and Dad was always there.
All right, so that's amazing.
Yes, it is.
Activity. All 4 kids still born in Tucson, and Dad was there. Okay, so now you're in San Antonio, Texas. You got married, and you're going to move to Biloxi, to Shreveport, right?
Right.
And what's Dad doing in Shreveport?
Dad is going to advanced pilot school training.
Okay. So
That's his last trimester.
Okay, so he's going to be a full-on pilot after he finishes that, right? Now, before you leave San Antonio, you learned something.
I learned that I was pregnant. We were going to have our first baby.
And how did that make itself known to you?
Oh, Frank. We had been to the officers club for dinner and for dancing on a weekend, and we did that night, go to someone's house for scrambled eggs and bacon after we left the club. And on the way home from their house, I said, "Oops, honey, you better stop because I'm sick at my stomach." And I did what I had to do at the side of the road and got back in the car, and I turned and looked at him, and he looked at me, and we're going to have a baby.
Did you celebrate?
Oh, we were just real happy about it.
Yeah. But did you have a celebration dinner or go out?
No.
And did you tell everybody immediately, or did you wait?
No, we told Mom and Dad right away. I wrote a letter to them, or I think that's how I told them.
Right. And during this time, you and Dad are like the blind leading the blind in terms of cooking. Is that right?
Oh, my word, yes.
What was your favorite thing to cook?
Well, at that point, it was probably fried chicken.
Yeah.
I learned to get little fryers and fried chicken. It was pretty good.
And did your dad try to cook at all?
A couple of times. He said, "Oh, I watched Mom. I know how to do it."
Right. What was his favorite thing to cook that he tried to cook?
Well, he tried to make gravy. We all 4 did, the 4 of us who were making dinner that night, another couple and ourselves. And none of us knew how to make gravy. We had roasted a chicken, and that was pretty good. But we were trying to make gravy, and we didn't know how. It was a mess. It was a bunch of paste.
Too much flour?
Yeah,
not enough water.
Yeah.
And grease. Didn't he try to roast a turkey or 2?
Oh, we had 4 turkeys the first year we were married. They were all horrible.
Why 4?
Well,
Why
just
so many?
every so many months, Dad would say, "I'd love to have a turkey," because he loved turkey.
And so they never came out right?
No, they were all dry and overcooked, overbaked, over roasted.
Why do you think that was?
We just didn't know how to cook them.
Why, just cook them too fast, or probably, or?
I don't remember. We did, for one thing, I don't remember whether it was in Shreveport. I think it was. We didn't have an oven thermometer. We didn't know how hot the oven was getting.
Oh, okay. That's all right. Okay.
We were so dumb.
Basic piece of information that's kind of important when you're baking something.
We were so ignorant.
But Dad didn't think about calling Grandma and asking her?
No, we never called her. There was a blind leading the blind, and we both loved each other so much that we didn't get critical. Mm-hmm. We just kind of plowed through it.
So then you're off to Shreveport, Louisiana. What time of year was that?
That we were there from October, probably late October, until February when he graduated. Okay. Of the next year.
And what was life like there? What were your quarters like?
Well, that was interesting. We found a bedroom with an adjoining room that had been made into a kitchen upstairs in a private home, and it was divided upstairs with a hallway at the head of the stairs, and on the other side of the hallway was a bedroom and a bathroom and a kitchen. So we shared the bathroom with a couple next to us upstairs, and they had a kitchen and we had a kitchen as such. Our big room had an old iron bed, brass bed. It had linoleum on the floor that had been cracked and peeling, and we put our footlocker in there next to the bed. We ate on a card table and folding chairs, and the other part of that big upstairs was made into 2 kitchens, and we had a sink that stood on 2 legs, and a stove. That was about it.
And what was your life like? You're pregnant.
Uh-huh.
Now, is he working long hours, or is he doing pretty regular hours?
Oh, no, long hours, long days. And he and other officers in pilot training shared rides, so that the wives could have the car once in a while. But the car never started for me.
Oh, okay.
It loved Dad, but it didn't like me.
A long history of mechanical objects working only for Dad, but nobody else.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with that.
But we got a new car in December for Christmas.
Oh, nice. Okay. So what did you do every day while Dad was away?
Nothing. Mm-hmm. One day I took the car and I decided that I would like to see what the residential areas were like in Shreveport. And I had always heard about the plantations. So I got in the car and I drove around, and I saw some very pretty old homes on very pretty grounds, and I enjoyed that. Then I would go to the grocery store, which was nearby, and get the groceries and climb the stairs with my grocery bags.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Were you near water, or was
I don't recall that we were, but I'm sure we were.
Okay. And did you have any help or anything like that?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Just yourself. So I mean, you don't really remember how you spent your hours. Were there other women, other officers' wives that you spent time
Well,
with?
Lucy was right across the hall from me.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so would you do things during the day?
Oh, we'd chat together, and yeah.
Did she have kids?
No, they didn't have children either.
Okay. Now you spent Christmas there, right?
Yeah, we had hoped to go home for Christmas, but decided not to since I was pregnant. And, so we cooked our horrible turkey for Christmas dinner and sat at the card table and ate it. And we put our little Christmas tree on top of the trunk. What did we call them?
Foot locker.
Foot locker. We put our little Christmas tree on top of the foot locker, and it had our Christmas.
Did you have it just the two of you, or did you share it?
Just the two of us.
Now, were you talking about names for your firstborn at this time? If it's a girl
Not
or a
at
boy?
that time.
You were talking about names yet, right. But you were going to see the.
I had started going to the doctor at the base,
Okay.
and I was sick at my stomach every day for 6 months.
Well, that's one reason to stay at home.
I carried saltine crackers in my pocket every time I went outside.
Now, you wanted to get a present for Dad, right? For Christmas,
yes.
And you wanted to have your own money to do that.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Well, that is a funny story. Lucy and I both decided that we'd like to make enough money on our own to buy a present for our husbands with our own money and not spend the money that our husbands were making. So she piled a bunch of old, not old, but some clothes that she didn't want anymore. And I did the same thing. And whenever each of us had the car, we would put them in the back end of our car, and we decided to go down to the area of Shreveport where the black people lived. And we would park at the curb on the side, by the sidewalk, and we would sell our clothes to them.
How often did you do? How many times did you do this?
I only remember once, or maybe we did it twice. And we each sold some things, and I I sold enough, would you believe this? Of course, things were different then. I sold enough to buy Dad a real nice white shirt. Big deal.
And so you just go down in what's a commercial part of town where there were stores and stuff?
No,
or?
I don't remember what was there. I just know that it was the part of town where all the black people seemed to live, and some of them stopped and looked at what we had to sell, and we sold a few items, and that was it.
But you don't remember if it was like in a residential area or
no.
Were there stores around or anything?
You know, I don't think it was residential. It seemed to me like it was more business. But nobody ever stopped and asked us what we were doing, or.
Yeah, the police never came by and asked. Were you selling it out of the trunk?
Yeah.
So you have your trunk lit up?
Well, our car had a rumble seat, so I had it in that part of the car.
And would you be talking to people as they walked by, or you just wait for them to notice you? And
I don't remember.
You weren't going, hey, clothes for sale.
No, I don't remember doing that. I wasn't that bold.
Yeah.
I don't know what they thought.
Was Lucy bolder than you?
Probably a little.
Yeah, okay. And you didn't feel at all unsafe or anything?
No.
Now, at this time, was it really clear to you the black-white differential in Shreveport? I mean, you had never been exposed to that, had you?
No, huh?
You remember?
No, that was new to me.
Yeah. Do you remember having any thoughts about it at the time?
I don't recall then. It was later when we were in Montgomery that it really got to me.
Interesting. So Dad is in pilot school, and you're essentially just taking care of yourself and throwing up every day and selling your clothes out of the backs of cars. And
we did start going to church when we got to Shreveport. We had not done that in San Antonio after we were married. We didn't find a church. But we both, it seemed like at the same time we both felt the need that we needed to start going to church. And so we found a Methodist church on one of the main streets in Shreveport and started going there.
And what was your did your landlord live in the same house?
On the bottom floor.
Okay.
They owned a furniture store in Shreveport.
And did you interact with them a lot?
No, not much. It snowed in Shreveport that winter,
Really?
and our pipes froze, and we couldn't get any heat in our
Oh my. Oh, geez.
Oh.
Oh.
And then we decided we needed to get a different car. Like, it wouldn't start for me. It was a 41 little Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And so my cousin, being a Pontiac dealer in Washington, D.C., we asked him if he had a car we could buy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was too soon after World War II to be able to have much choice of a car yet. And he said, I'll have a car waiting for you if you get here.
Mm-hmm.
And so Babe got a ride on an Air Force plane, flew into Washington, D.C., went to Everett's Flood Pontiac store, and Everett met him there, and he said, there's your car. And there was a brand new Pontiac two-door sedan, gray and white. And old Dad was just delighted, and he paid him for it. I'm not sure, but I think we paid $1,800 for that brand new car.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad and Everett said, my man here will show you the way to the highway. He'll lead you to the highway and show you how to get out so you can drive back to Shreveport. And that was it.
Wow, that was a long drive. He was able to get that much time off?
That was at Christmas time.
Okay, so during the holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to be in the Air Force to get a free ride, though.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, nice perk.
And we borrowed $1,000 from Southern Arizona Bank via telephone with Mr. Felix, and told him we'd pay him back within the month when we could sell our little Ford, which we did. Sent him to $1,000, and then we had $800 that we paid him out of our funds, and we had a brand new car.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Now, I mean, back then, would you have even considered just taking out a loan and paying on a monthly basis?
I don't remember whether we considered it or could, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I always left those things up to Dad,
Mm-hmm.
so I really don't know.
Right. Now, did you go to the officers club to have dinner? Or
Not much, no.
Okay.
Dad was too busy, and we would go on maybe a Saturday night with 2 or 3 other couples and dance and have dinner, and then go to somebody's house.
Okay.
We had a good time. And then there was, no, that was in San Antonio.
Okay. So then, now Dad gets his, now this is, when did he get his pilot's wings? In San Antonio or after Shreveport?
Oh, no. He graduated in Shreveport in February, and was given his pilot wings, and I got to pin them on him. And we were very proud. I was very pregnant. I showed fairly soon. Mike was a big baby. And I have a snapshot of me in my maternity clothes pinning the wings on Dad.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that.
Uh-huh.
That'd be great.
And we were very happy. And then the orders came out for Davis Monthan. That was a thrill.
Yeah, so that was just kind of luck. I mean, it had nothing to do with your being from Tucson. That was just
Well,
kind of luck.
it seems to me somebody said at that time they were trying to station people near their hometown. And of course, fortunately, Tucson had an Air Force base here.
Okay. So he was assigned to a bomber wing.
Assigned to a bomber wing at Davis Monthan,
Okay.
64th Bomb Squadron.
Okay. So now you're moving back to Tucson, pregnant. You drove back in your brand new Pontiac?
In our brand new Pontiac, we stopped at Carlsbad Caverns and toured that on the way home.
So, and so they gave you some time, a little bit of time off to get...
Oh yeah, you usually got about 30 days
Oh, nice.
to get settled.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so what was your living situation when you got back to Tucson?
Well, we stayed with my aunt and uncle the first couple of nights, and then we stayed with Mom and Dad after that. And of course, we didn't have our own place yet, so we started looking for a place and found one on Winstall Boulevard.
What boulevard?
Winstall.
Winstall?
Winstall, Winstel.
Never heard of it.
That's just north of Speedway, about where Ellen Canto Market and where that area is. And it was a little cluster of apartments. And they were nice little apartments, 1-bedroom apartments. They seemed to be brand new, furnished. And Dad bought a little scooter and went back and forth to the base on that so I could have the car on days that I needed the car.
Okay.
And but during the time we lived there, which wasn't long, Dad and Mom owned 2 houses other than their own near them, one on 7th Street and one on 1st Avenue.
Who had built those?
What?
Who built those houses?
Uncle Dan Brewster,
Okay.
Grandpa's sister's husband. He had a construction company.
Okay.
And he had built them, as he did their own home. And so they decided to ask their renters that they had in the house to vacate, and they got it all cleaned up and ready for us to move into.
Did you pay rent?
No,
Did you have to furnish it?
we had to furnish it.
So you
Yes.
and Dad spent time looking for furniture?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that? Was that fun?
Yeah, it was different and new to us. We couldn't afford real good furniture, but we got adequate furniture.
And so was this a 1-bedroom house? Or?
No, 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, and the one on 1st Avenue, where we were living when you were born. It was right across the street from Tucson High School.
So you kept that house all through the time, from that time until Africa. That was basically your home base in Tucson.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And what? So now, what are you doing? How are you keeping yourself busy?
Getting ready for a baby and learning to cook and grocery shopping, and I kept busy. I don't know how I did, but I did.
So
Yeah.
you were really at this point now with Grandma around. You're really spending time learning to cook.
Yeah, and Grandma and Grandpa did all their grocery shopping every Friday morning out at a market near Fort Lowell and Grant. And
You remember the name of the market?
I think it was Lucky's, but I'm not sure. And so every Friday, Dad and Mom would come by the house.
Well, first of all, Fort Lowell and Grant go in the same direction, so it had to be another street.
Fort Lowell and
Campbell or
I don't remember.
or Park or something?
First, maybe.
First, okay. Fort Lowell first, maybe? Okay.
Yeah. And Mom liked the meat market there. She was very picky about her food that she bought.
So you would go with Grandma and Grandpa shopping?
Every Friday morning.
That must have been fun.
It was. I loved being with Grandma and Grandpa.
Who would drive?
Grandpa.
Okay.
And he'd drive us to the market and he'd help us shop. And we'd get our week's groceries.
And did she have a list in her head, or did she have always something?
Oh, I'd usually write a list,
Yeah.
and I learned how to pick out meat. Mom taught me how to pick out cuts of meat. The butcher would do it. And there was always a roast for Sunday, fried chicken during the week, meatloaf. I learned how to cook a lot of different things.
Did she always have a potato?
Oh, always had potatoes of some kind.
Did you ever eat rice as a kid?
No, I was not.
The first time you ever ate rice?
I was not a rice eater.
Right.
I still am not crazy about
Right,
rice.
but was it generally available, or was it not
Oh
even?
no, rice was always available.
Okay. Do you remember the first time you ever ate it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. But it would always be a potato. And
Potatoes and vegetables.
Okay.
But Dad at that time only liked canned LeSueur peas and canned corn.
A real connoisseur.
What?
A real connoisseur.
Oh yes, a real connoisseur.
A gourmet.
But he loved his homemade sweets.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned how to bake pies and cakes and cookies real early.
Mm-hmm.
Real early on.
Now, Grandma, so you basically learned how to serve a meal from Grandma?
Yeah.
And did she usually have salads or soups?
Oh yes, not soups, but salads.
She wasn't a big soup person?
No,
Okay.
Granny was, Mom's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Dad always remembers Granny having a delicious pot of soup on her stove all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I never saw Mom make soup.
Mm-hmm. Pork chops, pork roast?
We have pork. I learned about corned beef.
Mm-hmm.
I had never eaten corned beef until I knew Mom.
Really?
My aunt never made it. So I learned. So I would have corned beef, pot roast. Always had a sirloin tip roast on Sunday.
Wow.
And
that's pretty good eating.
And browned potatoes, and I would make other vegetables, but Dad wouldn't eat them.
Mm-hmm.
I always fixed Jello salad or frozen salad,
Mm-hmm.
or a pear half with cream cheese dressing or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And how often would you make a pie or a cake?
At least once or twice a week.
Wow. So there's always pie or cake?
Oh yeah, we always had homemade dessert.
Wow. That's good eating.
Custard pie, coconut cream pie, lemon meringue pie, apple pie.
Mm-hmm. That's an amazing level, quantity and quality of food consumption.
Well, Mom would pinch pennies and save money any place, but not on food.
Mm.
She always bought the best meat. She always bought the best food. That was important to Mom and Dad.
Now, did she bake bread, or would she buy her bread?
No, she didn't bake bread.
Okay. And then would Dad take a lunch, or would he have lunch at the base?
No, your dad?
Yeah.
He ate lunch at the base.
Mm-hmm. So you'd fix him breakfast before he left, and then you'd have dinner ready when he got home?
Right, when he came home.
Okay. What would you generally have for breakfast?
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Probably eggs, bacon.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty common.
Yeah, that's good.
No spam.
No spam. Okay. Now you're back home. So I mean, where is your social life picking up in terms of seeing people and doing things?
Yeah.
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 What would you do for fun?
George and Mildred had not moved back to Tucson yet. They were still in California. But Tom and Estelle lived around the corner from us.
Mm-hmm.
But they were not social people particularly. They didn't go out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But we started going out with the couples at the base.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, while we were still living with Mom and Dad, Mom had a patio supper for the new friends that we made out at the base, and fixed a delightful picnic supper for them outside.
Mm-hmm.
Got to know our friends, invited my aunt and uncle, and Mom was a dear. Oh, I look back, how lucky was I to have that mother-in-law.
And then would you get together? Would you have dinner at their house every Sunday?
Oh, every Sunday.
And Tom and Estelle would show up?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That'd be a good family dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a family dinner.
And at this time, Estelle is about to give birth, I would guess, or either
already
had.
Well, she had Larry on January 7th of 48. And I had Mike on June 8th of 48.
Right, so that's the reason they weren't going out much.
No, I'm sure.
They had a little toddler.
Yeah, and he was working at Sears.
Yeah, and they had a little infant to take care of. And, yeah, okay. But were you getting back in touch with high school and college friends?
Yeah.
Having a good time, generally?
Yeah. Yeah.
So were you feeling better at this point, or were you always every day feeling badly? You're throwing up, having morning sickness?
Oh no! After 6 months, I was rid of the mornings. It just stopped.
Okay, so basically, by the time you're back in Tucson and set up, you're feeling good and having a good time, and
right.
And yeah.
I can still see me big, fat, and pregnant dancing with Dad at the officers' club.
Do you remember any groups that came through that were well known at that time?
No, not then.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Dad is this is 48, is he starting to, at this point, work on air refueling at this
No,
point?
not yet.
Not yet.
It came later that year
Okay,
and early.
49.
Because it was February 49 when the flight took place.
Right, so they had to start working on it before that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. But do you remember him being gone at night to do
Yeah,
that at this time?
oh yeah.
So he would be,
He'd be flying back and forth between here and the Hawaiian Islands. That's how they practice it.
so there'd be
Non-stop. Back at,
and this was at night? Or during the day?
well, he had to work his job at the base.
Mhm.
He kept that up. He was working pretty much with only a few hours sleep.
So there were many nights when he wasn't home?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you know why at the time?
Oh, I had no idea. I just knew he had flights and that he was training.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew he was training. I didn't know what he was doing.
Uh-huh.
He was a very close-mouthed officer. He didn't tell me things he was doing,
Uh-huh.
and he wasn't supposed to.
Right, right. So he's working during the day and then oftentimes flying at night, not knowing why. He might get back 3, 4 in the morning, or
I just don't recall the exact timing, but he was. It was a very tiring time for him.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever feel unsafe when he was gone?
No. I was not a gun person. I'd never grown up around them, and I was afraid of them. So I kept a wrench under my pillow. I probably couldn't have picked it up and wielded it, but I kept it there because I was going to protect myself and my children.
And so he'd just be gone many nights. Yeah. And then you were in Tucson all up through his around the world attempt.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So how did that? I mean, at some point you had to know what he was doing and what they were doing.
Only the day that they left, or it may have been the day after they left. Mom had insisted that I come up with Mike, who was just a baby, 6, 7 months old, and stay with them while he was gone. Because when Babe left, he said, "I don't know how long I'll be gone, but listen to the radio and you'll find out why I'm gone." That was his instruction. So I said, okay.
We're declaring war on the Russians.
Declare the war on Russia. So Mikey and I went up to Mom and Dad's and stayed those few nights. And Mom always had a little radio on her sink that she played her 15-minute programs and worked by. And so we were both in the kitchen doing things, and the phone rang. And it was the wife of one of the 3 pilots. Dad was one of 3 pilots that were on that flight.
This is the flight to try to fly around the world nonstop.
Right.
By air refueling.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so B. Elder called me, and her husband Steve Elder was one of the pilots. And she said, "You've got to come out to my house. I know where the boys," she always called them the boys. "I know where the boys are, and I know exactly what they're doing." Well, she wasn't supposed to know, and neither was I. Nobody was supposed to know. They were keeping it high, top-level secret. And I thought, well, how does she know? And I said, well, I can't come. I said, I'm here at my mother-in-law's house, and I don't want to leave the baby with her. And she said, you've got to come out. I've got something to show you. I know exactly where they are. I know what they're doing. So I turned to Mom and I said, one of the pilot's wives wants me to come out. She has something to tell me. Mom said, go ahead. Go ahead. I can take care of Mikey. I said, okay. So I drove out to Bee's house, and she had a big encyclopedia open to a full spread of both sides of the world. And she was very dramatic about it, I remember. She was a dramatic woman anyway, character. And she pointed to it. She said, this is where our boys are going, around the world. I said, what are you talking about? She said, they're flying around the world nonstop. I said, oh, you know, and
Pshaw.
Pshaw. She said, no, I really know that's what they're doing. And so I said, I didn't ask her how she knew. Obviously, her husband had told her. And so I said, okay, and went back home. And I don't remember.
So did any of this click with, did she say they were doing air refueling?
No, I didn't have any clue what they were
None of
doing.
it clicked with his
I had no idea how they were doing it.
All right.
No idea. I was perfectly
But
stupid.
now are you nervous though? Does that make you
No, I don't remember being nervous. I just remember now I know what he's doing.
Okay.
God made me so strange. And so I went back home. I don't even remember if I told Mom. I don't remember. But it was sometime after that there was a break in the news on the radio and announced that an airplane from Davis Mountain Field had gone down on the Azore Islands with engines out. And on that plane was a Tucsonan named Francis Edward Hawke.
Oh my gosh.
So I thought, okay, he's okay, because they landed safely on the island.
They said that in the
newscast. It was obvious, and from what they said, that they were safe.
Oh, okay.
But that they had, it was after Lucky Lady landed and made the flight that they announced it. Because as soon as they went down on the Azores with the engines out, Lucky Lady fired up their engines in Fort Worth and they took off on the...
Okay, Lucky Lady being the backup plane.
And it was a backup plane, and 90 hours and 1 minute later they landed back at Carswell.
Okay.
And that's when they announced that the plane had gone down on the Azores.
And Dad, what was the name of Dad's plane?
Global Queen.
Global Queen, okay.
Yeah, he missed the Encyclopedia Britannica by 2 engines.
So when he came back, was that when he explained to you
We didn't even talk about it when he came back.
Okay.
He was just so thankful to get safely home, because when they replaced the engines or fixed them or whatever they had to do, and they did a test flight with him, they had an oil leak on one of the engines and had to come back and repair that engine.
Yeah.
So he said, I was ready to come back on the Greyhound.
Well, I remember asking Dad about all the secrecy surrounding it, thinking that it was a strategic issue. They didn't want the Russians to know about it.
No.
He said, no, we were just afraid we'd fail. We didn't want the Navy and the Army to find out if we
Because
failed.
they were all fighting for funds.
Right, exactly.
He said, we didn't want the other services to know.
Exactly. But at that time, I mean, Dad's doing dangerous stuff. I mean, this is dangerous stuff. And are you aware that it's dangerous? Are you worried about him?
I wasn't aware of specific dangers. I just worried about his flying.
No, just in general.
Just in general. Yeah. I did not like the idea of the flying. Yeah. And but I didn't know the immediate dangers. Mm-hmm. All the time he was in nuclear weapons, I didn't realize how dangerous it was.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever go down to the flight line?
Well, yeah, I took him down to the flight line many times to leave and to pick him up.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Would you wait until the airplanes took
off? Oh, yeah.
Would the other wives be there?
Oh, yeah, and kids.
Right, and you could actually knew which airplanes they were as they were taking off?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then would you go in early and watch them come back?
Yeah, and he was always the last one back. They got lost over Mexico one time because the sextant broke and the navigator ended up getting him over the northern part of Mexico.
Violating Mexican airspace.
And we think we're not supposed to be here.
But he was always the last one in. Why,
Because he carried the nuclear weapons box and the secret papers and stuff. So he left last.
Okay, well this was later, after he became a weaponeer.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about at this time.
Oh, at this time? I don't know how they... I don't know what one he was taking off.
Okay. And then it was when he got off the plane, finally, that Lauren Jackson met him, right?
Yeah, and he said, don't unpack, babe, you're going to weaponeer school. And Dad said, what's that?
What's a weaponeer? Right. And so then you're off to where?
Then we went to Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay. And so that was when? That was...
Well, Mikey wasn't a year old yet.
Mm-hmm. So it was first half
Probably April
of 1949.
of 49.
Right. So you have to pack up with Mike.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, did you just leave the house empty?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't sublet it or anything.
No, Dad bought a 2-wheel trailer from Sears,
Mm-hmm.
and we put Mikey's baby tender that he sat in when he ate.
Mm-hmm.
We took all of his equipment,
Mm-hmm.
and I washed bottles in the hotels when we stopped, and made formula, and got to Biloxi, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. And the first part of weapons school was heavily math and engineering and stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? So where did you live?
We lived at a guest house on a beautiful estate right on the Gulf, across the bridge from Biloxi in Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
We rented the guest house.
Uh-huh. And was it near water?
Oh, only 40 or 50 feet from the Gulf shore.
Were you the only ones there, or did you have people close to you, or?
We had people right next door on the other side of the fence. Tommy Tompkins and Jade Tompkins.
Mm-hmm. Did you spend time with them?
Oh yeah, we just loved them. They were an older couple, childless.
Oh, so they weren't in the Air. Okay, so they weren't.
No, they weren't military.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And did you deal with the landlord at all, or?
Oh, they were really nice, but they were very elderly. At least they seemed like it to us. And the husband was very sick. He was a wheelchair man.
Mm-hmm.
But they were very nice at times that we talked with them.
Mm-hmm.
It was a beautiful estate.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was? You had the car, obviously, so you could drive around if you had to. Did Dad drive the car to
Yeah,
school?
I seldom had it.
What was the routine? What was your daily routine like?
What?
What was your daily routine like?
Just home, being home taking care of Mikey.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sick a lot down there.
Mm-hmm.
I had severe bronchitis from the humidity.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dad got sick too with bronchitis.
Mm-hmm. And Dad was, because weaponeer school basically was teaching him how to work with the atomic bomb on
I
the
have
airplane.
no idea what it was.
It was on the airplane, and because he told us, it's in his recording about how to arm the weapon on the airplane and that sort of thing.
I don't know. I thought he learned that at Sandia.
So he was working very hard.
Oh, he had to be in class at 6 in the morning. And they had class from 6 to noon, and then after lunch until 4. And then at 4 he was through for the day. But at 4, a classmate who was an engineering graduate offered to tutor Dad, and they go over, I guess they went to a library, I don't know where they went, on the base. And he would spend time with this officer to help him understand what was. He had never had any of this.
Mm-hmm.
He had had 2 years of algebra in 9th and 10th grade, and that was it.
And it was a class full of engineers, right?
Right, VMI, West Pointers.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked Dad where he had gotten his degree, and he said, I was a physical engineer major from the University of Arizona. And they said, what's that? He said, they called me here to go to school to learn how to lift the bomb.
Because he was a PE major.
And, right.
And
he was a go to the class the whole time. He was a wonderful man.
And then he'd come home and study?
Oh, he'd come home after 4 o'clock, and he would, I would have dinner about 5, and he would, after he ate, there was a real tiny little desk in our guest house, and he would put all his books there, and he would study constantly without any interruption until I would find him asleep about 8 o'clock with his head down on the books.
Mm.
And then I'd wake him up, he'd go to bed, and he'd get back up and be at school at 6.
Mm-hmm.
And that was morning, 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 morning.
Now, how long did that last? How long were you there?
Mikey had his first birthday there in June, July, August, probably between August and October. I think we went to Albuquerque in October. We went back to Tucson and then to Albuquerque.
Okay. And there was a story about a snake, I think, with Mikey.
Oh, that was at Biloxi in Ocean Springs. I had his playpen out by the back door of our little guest house in a grassy area. And when Dad came home one afternoon carrying a great big heavy textbook, he saw a snake reared up looking at Mikey through the bars of his playpen. And it scared Dad to death, and he threw his book at the snake, and the snake ran away. And he grabbed Mikey and got him in the house. And we turned around and looked, and here the snake is back by the playpen looking at it. And so we pounded our feet on the floor, and off the snake went. It was a racer. It was harmless.
Yeah. Now, did you, with Dad studying so hard, did you have any time to enjoy yourselves? Or?
No, Dad had a day off, and the whole time he was there, one day that he took, and he went deep sea fishing. And he got a great big halibut, lemon fish they called him, and they filleted it and gave us some of it.
Nice. Did you ever go into Biloxi or go into
No,
the
I
city?
never did. I never saw the town.
Really? Okay, so you were quite isolated.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Now, where'd you go shopping on the base or around town?
I don't remember how we got our groceries. Isn't that funny? I don't remember a grocery store there. I don't remember Dad bringing the groceries. That is a total blank to me.
But you were, by this time now, you're probably cooking pretty nice dinners.
Oh yeah.
Having, been under Grandma's supervision.
I knew I was learning. Yeah.
But you didn't learn any Southern cooking while you were there.
No, I didn't. I was pretty isolated. Dr. and Mrs. Wood came to see us during that time, Mildred's parents. What they were doing down there, I have no idea. And then a former high school classmate and the sister of one of Dad's fraternity brothers, she and her husband stopped and saw us during that time. So I don't know.
Being so close, you had the racer, the snake. Were you worried about other animals being so close to the
I
water?
was worried about snakes. Right across the exterior of the property we lived on was a little canal, and it had multiple black cottonmouth snakes, which were very dangerous. So I never went outside the property unless I had to.
So you never went down to the water?
No. Well, I went down to the Gulf. They had a little pier. I would take Mikey in his stroller, and we'd go down on the little pier and watch the water for a while.
So that was just, you just had to.
That was in the other direction.
Oh, okay, away from the canal.
Away from the canal.
Okay. But you never.
Everything Mildred in our apartment, our luggage, our mattresses, everything, my shoes. It was 100% humidity.
Wow. Well, what did the locals do?
I have no idea. I never talked to them. I have no idea.
Okay. So Dad graduates from.
Well, yeah, there was no graduation exercise.
But anyway, he finishes this part of his weaponeer's training, and then what's next?
Well, we went back to Tucson. He had to wait, I guess, for something before he could go to Sandia in Albuquerque. There was another phase of the weaponeer training that took place at Sandia.
Right. I believe he had to wait for a security clearance.
That's what this says.
Yeah. So how long were you back in Tucson?
Oh, we were back about 2 months probably.
Okay. That must have been nice after Biloxi. Yeah, that must have been nice after Biloxi.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah. So it was just basically returning to your previous life before you went to Biloxi. Now, was Dad going to the base every day during this period?
Oh yeah.
Okay. But were his hours more regular because he was just basically waiting?
No, they were regular. They were regular hours.
Okay. So he'd just go out and come home in regular time and everything. Okay. And then you're off to Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay, with Mike again.
With Mikey.
Okay. And
his little playmate in Albuquerque was Dorinda Jade, a little girl.
Okay, well, George was born in March of '52, March of 50.
March of 50.
Which means you must have been pregnant June of 49.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sure I was. But I never got sick with him.
Okay, so by this time though, this is, so you're pregnant with George when you're in Albuquerque.
Yeah, but I wasn't showing it.
But you knew.
But I don't quite remember when I knew about him.
Okay. Okay, so.
I knew that we wanted another one, and so we weren't
Right.
trying to prevent it.
So, but training in Biloxi ended when? About what month?
It was probably in August or September. August, I guess,
Of 49.
of 49.
Okay, and you're already pregnant now with George.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then a couple of months in Tucson. So right at the end of 49, now you're in Albuquerque. Is that right?
Right. Mhm. Well, we got back before Christmas
From Biloxi.
from Albuquerque.
Okay. Okay, so you're, okay.
That was a short term in Sandia.
Okay, but you were with Dad.
Yeah, I was with Dad.
What was your living situation like?
He found a place at the base of the Sandia Mountains. It was a new addition that had been built,
Mm-hmm.
and we had nice neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fairly barren around it.
Mm-hmm.
And I never got into Albuquerque.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember how I shopped or anything else in.
Did we talk before about you giving birth to Mike?
What?
Did we discuss before in the interview about giving birth to Mike?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, so let's talk about that. So, June 48.
June of 48, and I'm still living at Mom and Dad's
Uh-huh,
with Dad and I are.
uh-huh,
And we're waiting for for the house to be fixed for us to move into.
okay.
And Mike's 9 days late, and I have start labor, and
Mm-hmm.
so Dad and Mom drive me out to Davis Sponsor, where I gave birth to him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what was that like? And what were the facilities like? What was it?
Fairly crude,
Uh-huh,
barracks.
uh-huh,
Barracks. They had one delivery room for whoever came in wanting to deliver.
mm-hmm. And how was Dad dealing with it?
Horrible.
Mm-hmm.
He was a nervous wreck.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I'm never going to let you go through this again."
Mm-hmm.
So 3 babies later, I said, "Well, hi."
But he was in there as you're having labor?
He would come in and go back out
Now, you're in the barracks.
in the barracks.
So you got how many beds in the barracks?
I don't remember how many labor beds they had. We each had our own room. Mom was in there with me.
Okay, you each had your own room.
Yeah, a labor room.
Oh, labor room.
Uh-huh.
Oh, so you're in the labor room.
Yeah, but after I delivered, there were about 12 of us in the barracks.
Okay, so you're in the labor room, Grandma's there, Dad's in and out.
Yeah. And the nurse finally told me, "Would you please tell your husband to stay out? He's a nervous wreck." And I said, "No, I won't tell him, but you'll have to tell him if you don't want him in here." So she told him.
And did he stay out?
Yep.
Pacing
Pacing the floor.
Yeah.
He went to the he went to the door of the delivery room and knocked on it and told the doctor to hurry up and deliver that baby in there. My wife needs to come in.
There's only one delivery room.
I think they wanted to kill him.
So there was a labor room, several labor rooms,
I guess.
but only one delivery room.
Yeah,
So you're in labor, and as soon as you're about to deliver, they would take you to the delivery room.
yeah.
Okay.
And then they take you back to the adjoining barracks. It was the same building.
Okay.
And it was one long building with about 12 beds in it, and then the nursery was behind that.
So how many hours were you in labor?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't remember.
Okay. And so when you actually delivered the baby, Grandma was there,
Yeah.
but not Dad.
Well, Dad was there, yeah.
Oh, he's in the delivery room.
We were, Mom and Dad were, Dad and his mother were together waiting for the doctor to deliver the baby.
Right, were they in the delivery room?
Yeah.
Were they actually in the delivery room?
No, they weren't in the delivery room.
Right,
They weren't allowed in then.
right. So they could come in the labor room, but not the delivery room.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so they're out, you go to the delivery room.
I don't know where they put them.
Okay, and so they're just waiting for the news.
Yeah.
Okay. Did they hand? And then did they have to wait to see you?
Well, all I remember the next thing was I was in that long barracks.
Okay.
And they had carried Mikey back to the nursery to weigh him and everything. And that's when Mom and your dad saw Mikey, as far as I know.
Right. And how long did you stay there?
A week.
Oh, you were
They
there a week.
insisted that the women stay a week. Up to shortly before I did Everett, they were keeping the women 3 days. But the women were coming back with infections because they were taking care of themselves properly afterwards. So they decided to keep the women 7 days.
Okay. And did they feed you anything special, or did
No,
you
just
kind of a regular diet?
we had to go, after the first 24 hours, we had to make our own beds. They'd bring the sheets and put them on the bed, or folded sheets, and then we'd have to make our own bed. And then we had to wear GI robes, bathrobes, and we had to go down a few stairs out of our barracks across a gravel patio part into the not commissary, into the GI mess hall where the men patients were. And we had to sit on our stitches that were killing us and shift from side to side with the men all looking at us. And that's where we ate.
But did you have women who had cesarean sections? Did they do cesarean?
What?
Did they do cesarean sections?
I'm sure they did.
So-
They didn't with me.
But there were women in there who would all. That would be different.
I don't remember whether there were.
But you said stitches. Were you?
Well, episiotomy is where the baby was born.
Oh, they'd stitch you.
Well, if the baby was so big,
Mm-hmm.
then they had to cut you, and yeah,
How about if you wanted to take a shower?
they had a makeshift shower that at one end of the barracks,
Uh-huh.
and you went in there and took your shower.
And there was one of Dad's comrades in arms also had a baby at the same time, right?
Oh, honey, you don't want me to tell that.
This is a great story. You got to tell it. So her baby, you're lying there with your baby, and she's lying there with her baby, and then what
Well,
happened?
it was Bob and Mildred Oakes, and he was an officer in the same squadron with Dad. I don't know whether he was a potter or what he did on the plane. And they already had 1 or 2 children, and she was having another child. And she delivered a girl that night, just before I delivered Mikey. So the next morning, oh my, Frank. The next morning, Dad and Bob come in to see their wives
At the same time.
at the same time, and Mildred and I had beds next to each other. And
You had
they,
the babies with you.
and, well, I don't recall whether the babies were in our arms at that time or not, but they flipped coins together between our bed to see who had the ugliest newborn. Oh, I was so angry. I was so hurt.
So is Grandma coming to see you every day? And
No, she didn't come back and see me.
Oh, really?
Uh,
So nobody brought Dad
it,
bring
it
you
was
food?
hard. It was hard for her to come through the gate,
Yeah.
and Dad was working. Dad came over every day and saw me.
Did you have any outside food? Anybody bring any outside
Oh,
food?
no.
You
Mm-mm.
just ate in the mess there?
No, just the mess hall.
And 7 days later, you take Mike home.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, were you breastfeeding?
I tried, but at that time, unfortunately, pediatricians did not encourage breastfeeding. So I was afraid of not knowing how much milk my baby was getting. So he was a bottle baby. I did the first 3 days or 4. Yeah.
Do you recall it bothering you at the time? Did you want to breastfeed him, or?
No, I was happy to do it.
Okay, so you take him home, and now you're on this regimen of
Yeah.
waking and feeding and feeding and waking, and
He was such a good baby. He just didn't cry at all. And he woke up once or twice a night, even from the beginning, is all.
How much did he weigh when he was born?
9 pounds, 4 ounces.
Okay. now, because of Dad's schedule, did you share the duties in the middle of the night, or did you?
Well,
pretty much do
it all sounded very wonderful. Dad said, "I'll help you at night, and I'll get up with the baby." Well, the first night he did, and heated the bottle and brought it back to me, and that lasted about 2 nights. And the rest of the time, he just put up his knees and went back to sleep and balanced my back on the side of the bed while I fed the baby.
Well, it kind of made sense. I mean, you didn't have anything to do.
Well, he had to get up and go to work.
Right. I mean, you could sleep when the baby sleeps.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then was Grandma there all the time?
Oh,
Maybe?
yes.
She was there.
But you know, she was marvelous. Grandma knew how. She just knew. She just was so smart. She knew how much to do and how much to have me take over. And I learned a lot from her. A lot. And she was so. She was not an officious, aggressive woman. She just did it, and you watched her, and that was how you learned.
Yeah. At that time, you had diapers. You didn't have disposable diapers.
Oh no!
So you were.
You had a diaper bucket with, I forget what we put in it, and put the diapers in there.
And you just have to wash them every
Oh
couple
yeah,
of days.
every day.
Every day.
Wash diapers every day.
Okay, well, that's good for today, and we'll start again, and we'll be in Albuquerque
Yeah.
when we start again. And I love you.
I love you.